we still do not have relevant time periods. From the Commonwealth's evidence, we know that my client drove by the Canton Library at 12:16 a.m. on January 29th because that was recorded. There is video of her driving by at that time, heading to 34 Fairview, which is where John O'Keefe died, with her taillight intact. We know that my client arrived back at John O'Keefe's residence at 1 Meadows Ave in Canton at 12:41 a.m. because the Commonwealth produced a voicemail that she left for John, where you can hear the garage door closing, the car door closing, the house door closing while she walked in her high heels on the garage floor. 1 Meadows is about a mile from the Canton Library. We know the video equipment was working because they have that footage from 12:16 a.m. But in the video that the prosecution turned over to us, there is a gap in that video from 12:37 a.m. to 12:39 a.m., which would have been the precise time my client would have been driving back past the library. We know that that footage would show that my client's taillight was still intact at that point because she never struck John O'Keefe with her vehicle. Yet the prosecution has produced a video from the library with that crucial time period missing. This evidence is strictly in their possession.
May I approach?
Yes.
Sir, I'm showing you a disc. Just ask you to, as far as that video from the Canton Public Library, you've seen that video subsequently, is that correct?
This disc with the wording on it?
Yes.
No, I have not seen this.
Not that specific disc, I'm sorry, sir, but the footage, have you been shown that particular video footage, or did you review
How
that
would he
footage
know?
before you gave it to the troopers?
What video footage is on it?
This is not mine to the trooper.
Understood.
No!
Sir, may we approach?
Okay.
When you arrived at Good Samaritan, who, if anyone, were you met by, and sort of what happened with regard to Mr. O'Keefe's death?
So we're continuing interventions from the ambulance through the bay into their code room. We're then met by registration, a registered nurse, and the doctor that took care of the patient, as well as a team of other assistants and CNAs. The doctors and nurses might have follow-up questions, so I try to stay available as an asset that they can bounce those questions off, at least for 10 or 15 minutes afterwards, to make sure the whole process is completely transferred from all the interested parties.
And you indicated in that you had said something to the effect of there's a question about whether or not Mr. O'Keefe had been hit by a car, correct?
Correct.
And so from your conversations with the defendants and the sort of expounding questions that you would ask for clarification, why was it that you related motor vehicle sort of specifically as a question to the hospital staff?
So it was due to the proximity of the patient to the roadway and the vagueness of the statement. How he got there, we're not sure. So we're trying to figure out what happened, but due to the proximity of the roadway, that was our first inclination.
I'm not the clerk.
You know when these questions would have been helpful, Lally? On direct.
I left it open-ended to the staff of the hospital that these are both possibilities of what happened to the patient.
And of course, if you had said that to the staff of the hospital, staff of the hospital would certainly put it in some of the medical reports, correct?
That calls for speculation.
They don't have to. It's really up to them.
And you're aware that none of those have that statement?
I'm not aware.
You testified that you treated Mr. O'Keefe upon arrival on January 29th, correct?
Yes.
Did a firefighter ever approach you on the morning of January 29th and tell you that he had information suggesting that the victim had been struck by a vehicle?
Objection.
Bravo.
Do you remember that?
I do not.
So if a firefighter indicated that he informed you that he had information suggesting that Mr. O'Keefe had been in some sort of vehicular accident, that's something that you would have included in your report, correct?
I don't know if that's a fair assumption.
But as you sit here today, you have no recollection whatsoever of anyone telling you that the victim had appeared to be in some sort of car accident, correct?
Something was said. Not good. What was it?
Well, I think, I don't have it in front of me, but I think my note that I prepared for Mr. O'Keefe states that per EMS report, so one of the medics, as in one of the folks on the ambulance who brought Mr. O'Keefe in, again, I'm not right in front of my note, but as I recall, it said something to the effect of per EMS report, the patient may have been struck by a vehicle.
Can I show you a copy of that report?
Please.
Uh-oh.
You could take a look at that.
All right, so,
I'll ask the question. Is your recollection
course.
fresh?
yes.
Is there anywhere on that report that says that the patient came in and there was a statement by EMS that the victim appeared to have been struck by a vehicle?
Just give me a moment to read through the.
Sure.
So no, there is not.
In fact, there's no mention of a vehicle whatsoever, correct?
That's correct.
I could have one moment, Charles?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions.
All right, get him, Liza.
Little.
And so for purposes of your calculation, if Ms. Reed drank alcohol after 12:45 a.m. and before her blood was drawn at 9:08 a.m., your entire calculation would be invalid.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. No further questions.
Something said, not good.
No further questions.
Bingo! What did I tell
Please.
you? Oh my God! Oh, she just hit it out of the park,
So in
yo!
this instance, Mr. Roberts, you're dealing with
Oh.
the time of incident that was
I'm
known,
like,
correct?
Yes, it was given to me that it was at 12:45.
And as far as the BAC or the serum conversion that was coming from a medical record, as far as, so that was known as well at 9:08 in the morning.
The time that the blood was drawn, yeah, that was known as well.
Now, as far as the question you were just asked, if the defendant drank alcohol after 12:45,
Don't panic. Just come up with a good story.
does that include sort of shortly after 12:45, or how long after 12:45 would it take in order to affect your calculations or your retrograde extrapolation?
It's hard to say where that would have skewed it. It would have definitely caused a different time frame depending on how long after
that was incredible.
the incident or the reported last drink. If there was another drink in between there, it just shortened up the amount of time that would have been prior to the blood draw for sure.
Uh-oh.
What I'm asking is, would it have any significant impact, or would there be any difference if the last drink was, say, at 1 a.m. versus 5 a.m.?
So that'd be a 4-hour difference. So essentially, that could, given the conversion rates, that would put the numbers very different. Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, so the 5 a.m. would significantly impact your calculations, correct?
Yes.
The 1 a.m., would that significantly impact your calculations?
No.
If I could just ask one question. You said that you were given 12:45 as the time that you sort of based your analysis on. And to be
Yes.
clear, that was not something that was provided to you by my client, right?
No.
That was something that was provided to you from a police report.
Correct.
That's good.
No further questions.
That's a great question. Yeah.
All
So
right,
everything-
Mr. Roberts, you are all set.
You
sir.
can't trust
Thank you
anything this
very
guy
much.
said. His numbers are completely irrelevant because they're based on too many assumptions.
Okay, your next witness,
He's
Mr.
crushed.
Lally.